have the books. If you don't, but just listen to it. And today we're going to read chapter 4. Title of this chapter is Gyan, Karma, Sanyas, Yoga. If you remember, there are 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. When last time I was telling you that Bhagavad Gita is a part of an epic, Mahabharata. Okay, so name of that epic. There are two epics from India. One is Mahabharata, the other one is Ramayana. So this Mahabharata epic also has 18 chapters. Okay, so 18 big chapters. Bhagavad Gita is part of one chapter, and there are 18 sub-chapters in there too. How long the war lasted? 18 days. How many warriors were there? It's called 18 Akshoni Sena. 11 on one side, 7 on the other side. 7 Pandava side, 11 Kaurava side. So 18 number comes again and again in this scripture. So 18 chapters. Each chapter ends with the term yoga. That doesn't mean that there are 18 yogas. These are just 18 different ways Lord Krishna showed us how you evolve your personality, how to become more godlike. The very first chapter was Vishad Yoga. Vishad is a detachment. Arjun got detached from this world by looking at what's happening. So that's another way to explain Vishad. Vishad also means a little disturbed, neurotic, shaken up, because he got shaken up physically, mentally, intellectually. But he got detached from this world too. This world is no good. Why fight? Why do I want to have a kingdom after all this bloodshed of my relatives? He got detached. But detachment doesn't mean that you don't do your duties. So that's why Lord Krishna gave him all that knowledge to him. With the help of the knowledge, that's how we have clarity. So in the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, Lord Krishna gave the knowledge to him. Knowledge about the soul, who we are. Knowledge about what we need to do. And then in the third chapter, Karma Yogi chapter, he teaches us how to do our duties. We can do our duties arrogantly also. We can do our duties as a yogi also, where we don't get attached to the fruits. We just do it because we are supposed to do it. That's the only motivation, that we are supposed to do it. And we do a good job also. The best job possible. Not because of the result, but because it's my duty to do it. That's a Karma Yoga. So the first chapter is Vishad Yoga. The second chapter is Sankhya Yoga, knowledge. Third chapter is Karma Yoga. And I told you, if you want to look at what Karma Yoga is, because if you want to infuse more actions, or do more actions as a Karma Yogi, 3 elements to it. Do your actions selflessly. That's one thing. So no selfish motive. Just doing it because it's my duty. That's it. And doing it skillfully. Okay. And third thing, do it lovingly also. See, like a robber does his job pretty skillfully. And I'm sure they love what they do too, but they are not doing it selflessly. There's a lot of selfishness in there. So that's not considered a Karma Yogi. And if you are doing something we love to do, but we are not putting our heart into it, and we are doing it selflessly, then again, it's not a Karma Yoga. And sometimes we are doing it skillfully. We are doing it selflessly also, but we just think it's a burden to do it again. So just like if I teach these classes, come over here, skillfulness I have, because I've been teaching for so many years. I was born and brought up in an ashram, knew all this. And I do it selflessly also. I don't need anything in return, but I don't love doing it. I think it's a burden. Again, I got to teach. Then it's not a Karma Yogi either. So all of these three elements got to be there in your actions if you want that to be a Karma Yoga. That's what we learned in the third chapter. Remember, selflessly, so no selfishness, lovingly and skillfully. And skillfulness keep on increasing. We got to make sure that yesterday I taught, or yesterday I did something, today I want to become a little better. And we do so many actions all day long. It could be a cooking, it could be a cleaning, it could be taking care of the children, taking care of the parents, doing our own job academically. Whatever we are doing, several hats we are wearing, all of us. And we want to become a Karma Yogi. But Lord Krishna says this is not it. See, I told you this Bhagavad Gita is a book of self-development. We just don't want to stay here. We want to raise ourselves to the higher level. What is a higher level? The next chapter. That's why I gave you this name. Over here it says path of renunciation with knowledge. This is not a correct translation of this chapter. Gyan, Karma, Sanyas, Yoga. If you know the Sanskrit, Gyan is the knowledge, definitely. But knowledge over here means God. God which we can see, but everywhere. That's the Gyan. In the very first class today, I was telling these little kids, then unseen, God is unseen. We cannot see with these eyes, but we got to have a faith that God is seeing us. That is the Gyan. Karma means your actions. And sannyas over here means the selflessness. So selflessness in the actions, add the God in there. The divine is watching us, no matter which action we are doing. Whether we are learning, whether we are teaching, whether we are cleaning, whether we are cooking, you can see that how pure your action is going to become if you see God in everything. And that's what Lord Krishna is going to teach us in this particular chapter. Gyan, Karam, Sanyas. So I would like you to just write it down if you have this book. And if it says path of renunciation with knowledge, sometimes we don't comprehend the real purpose of this chapter. We are not renouncing the action. Actions we are doing, but we are renouncing the selfishness by seeing God in everything. Okay, so let's do the Vedic prayers first, and then we'll start our chapter. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. Om Sehna Bhavatu, Sehna Bhunaktu, Seviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. So chapter 4. This chapter starts with the Lord Krishna's sayings over here. Because you remember, this is a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. So Lord Krishna said, I taught this Karma Yoga, the eternal science of right action, to King Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to Manu. Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. Thus, the saintly kings knew this science of proper action, Karma Yoga, handed down in succession. After a long time, this science was lost from this earth. Today, I have described the same ancient science to you because you are my sincere devotee and friend. This science is a supreme secret indeed. So Lord Krishna is mentioning these names, those kings and the saints which took birth thousands and thousands of years ago. Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku. And Arjun knew these names. And Arjun over here, he says, you were born later because you are standing in front of me. But Vivaswan was born in ancient time. How am I to understand that you taught this science in the beginning of the creation? Lord Krishna says, both you and I have taken many births. I remember them all, O Arjun, but you do not remember. Okay, so this is the difference between God and us. We forget, we even forget what we did yesterday or an hour before. But God remembers. Okay, so he says, we have taken many births. So this is the philosophy of Gita. We were before this physical body, we will be after. So continuity of this according to this philosophy. Okay, so he says, I have taken many births, I remember them all, and you do not remember. Though I am eternal, immutable, and the Lord, Ishwar, controller of all beings, yet I manifest myself by controlling material nature, using my own divine potential energy, Yog Maya. So with the help of Yog Maya, I manifest myself. And I do remember, and you human beings forget. Whenever there's a decline of dharma, so now he's telling us why he manifests himself. Whenever there's a decline of dharma and a predominance of adharma, O Arjun, I manifest myself. I appear from time to time for protecting the good, for transforming the wicked, and for establishing world order dharma. So clearly he says, again and again I come. Whenever I see the need for it. We cannot dictate God. We cannot tell God, you come in this form. He can come in any form. But this is the reason he comes. See, I appear from time to time for protecting the good, for transforming the wicked, and for establishing world order. One who truly understands my transcendental appearance and activities of creation, maintenance, and dissolution attains my supreme abode and is not born again after leaving this body. So a person who truly understands it, that God is everywhere. This whole creation is created by God, sustained by God, and ultimately whenever there's a destruction, that is God too. That's why those three powers, according to the Hinduism, the Brahma, the Vishnu, and the Shiva. Brahma is the creator, creating power. God is one, but uses these three powers. Brahma is the creative power. Vishnu is the sustaining power. And the Shiva, Mahesh. There's so many names for that. Is the destroying power. Anything which is created has to end also. Many have become free from attachment, fear, anger, and attained salvation by taking refuge in me. by becoming fully absorbed in my thoughts and by getting purified by the fire of self-knowledge. See, this fire of self-knowledge ends all these lower tendencies in us. Attachment, fear, anger. These are the lower, okay? Rag, bhaya, krodh. If you know Sanskrit, these are the lower energies in us and we need to work on them. With whatever motive people worship me, I fulfill their desires accordingly. People worship me with different motives, O Arjun. Those who long for success in their work here on earth worship the celestial controllers, devas. Success in work comes quickly in this human world. See, the goal could be just to attain the lower result. But he says the ultimate goal is to attain that salvation, the liberation, which he mentioned in the previous verse. He says to gain material success is very easy. It comes right away. I created the 4 divisions of human society based on aptitude and vocation. Though I am the author of this system of division of labor, one should know that I do nothing. Nothing means directly nothing, and I am eternal. Further, he says, work or karma does not bind me because I have no desire for the fruits of work. One who fully knows me thus and practices this truth is also not bound by karma. So this is the very first thing as a Karma Yogi, not getting attached to the fruit of the work. The ancient seekers of salvation also performed their duties without concern for the fruits. Therefore, you should do your duty as the ancients did. The great people, the great yogis, they worked like that. Follow them. We all like to follow somebody. So he says, follow those great people. Even the wise are confused about what is action and what is inaction. Therefore, I shall clearly explain what is action, knowing which you shall be liberated from the evil of birth and death. The true nature of action is very difficult to understand. Therefore, one should know the nature of attached action, the nature of detached action, and also the nature of forbidden action. Forbidden action means the actions which we should not do. Every faith talks about those. Don't hurt anybody. Don't steal. Don't be arrogant. Forbidden actions. Then he says, attached action, the nature of the attached actions, that means the actions doing. Sometimes we get attached to the action itself or the fruit of the action. So he says, you should be clear. The nature of the attached action, the nature of the detached action. So in Sanskrit, if you know, it's a karam, akaram, and vikaram. So vikaram is forbidden. We should not do it. Most of our actions, we are doing the karma because of certain actions, result. But we got to convert our karma into a karma. So doing the action, but not getting attached to the action or the fruit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is a wise person. Such a person is a yogi and has accomplished everything. This is again, I told you last time, in this particular book, some of the verses are printed in red. So this is one of those. One who sees inaction in action. While I'm doing certain actions, there's a part of me which is not doing any action. And which part is that? The soul. Soul is not doing any action. If I can remember that, who I am while doing the action, he says, and inaction in action and action in inaction is a wise person, is a yogi. So that's why this is a very important verse to contemplate upon. When we are acting, what is staying inactive? And when we are inactive, body is inactive. There could be something very actively going on inside. For example, when we are meditating, in meditation, what is really happening? We are cleaning our inner part of the mind. So actively we are cleaning. Outside somebody can say that you are just sitting, doing nothing, wasting time. But internally we are doing the most important thing at that time. So action in inaction and inaction in action. When we know the clarity of it and remember it and live a life according to this principle, he says a person is a wise person and a yogi. Okay? One whose desires have become selfless by being roasted in the fire of self-realization is called a sage by the wise. Because most of the people do the actions, they are very, very active in the world because they have the desires. Higher the desires, more the actions. But all those are just for yourself. But he says, whose desires have become selfless. Selfishness has been evaporated by being roasted in the fire of self-realization, that I want to know, that kind of intensity, that I want to know myself. He says that is a sage. He is called a sage by the wise. So even the wise people call him a saintly person. One who has abandoned attachment to the fruits of work and remains ever content and dependent on no one but Krishna, that means God. Such a person, though engaged in activity, does nothing at all and incurs no karmic reaction. So over here, the first thing is abandoned attachment to the fruits of work. And after that, remains ever content and total dependence upon God. Normally, we are dependent upon it. First, ourselves. I'm going to do it. Then we just, if we cannot do it, then we depend upon, the money I earned. I'll have a good life. But the people I know, powerful people, so we are dependent upon all these. But he says, dependent on no one but God. Presence of God constantly with you. That doesn't mean that we have to ignore other people, ignore our duties. We got to do our duties, do whatever needs to be done, but dependence only upon God. One who is free from desires, whose mind and senses are under control, who has renounced all proprietorship, does not incur sin, the karmic reaction, by doing bodily actions. So person is doing bodily actions, person is very, very busy, but no selfishness. Mind or senses are under control. And we know those 5 senses in our control. In fact, all 10 senses should be in our control. Okay, the action organs also, the sense organs. And all proprietorship, like a ownership. A Karma Yogi who is content with whatever gain comes naturally by his will. His means God's will. Who is unaffected by pairs of opposites. And pairs of opposites are heat and cold, happiness, unhappiness, fame and defame, all those pairs. So a Karma Yogi who is content with whatever gain comes naturally by his will, who is unaffected by pairs of opposites and free from envy, tranquil in success and failure, is not bound by karma. In the material world, there will be a success and sometimes there will be a failure. And what is envy? Envy is always from somebody else. We are never envious of our own. My right hand is stronger than my left hand. My left hand is not envious of my right hand. There's a oneness, feeling of oneness. In the family also, when husband and wife, they are cordial to each other, understand this is a one unit, there's no envy. Brothers and sisters, if they feel that part of the same family, there's no envy. The same way, in this whole world, when we start feeling the oneness, why the envy? Okay, so he says free from envy, because that is an enemy. Envy is an enemy. And tranquil in success and failure. Normally what happens, in success we just bounce up. In failure, we just go deep down into depression. He says tranquil is not bound by karma. So this is the quality of a Karma Yogi. All karmic bonds of a Karma Yogi, who is free from attachment, whose mind is fixed in self-knowledge, and who does work as a service to the Lord, dissolve away. So again, see, doing the actions to the best of your capability, doing it for Lord. That's the main theme of this chapter. Okay, fixed in self-knowledge. Fixed in self-knowledge means knowledge of the Atma, the soul. The divine spirit has become everything. Divinity shall be realized by one who considers everything as a manifestation of Brahma. So God everywhere, our students also, our co-workers also, what we eat also, where we go also, God, God, everything God. That's what he's talking about over here. Some yogis, so now he's going to give us a different ways we can attain this. These are called yagyas. Yagya means whenever we do the action and we remember God, that becomes yagya. When we are eating also, we remember there's a God in food, God in the process of eating, God in the action of assimilation, digestion, that becomes a yagya. So yagya is any action when we remember God and we see God. So over here, he's going to give us 12 different kinds of yagya we can perform. Because normally we think yagya is only when there's a fire is burning. But yagya is when we can remember God in our actions. So some yogis perform the service of worship to celestial controllers. And celestial controllers, I want you to remember, those 5 elemental forces are the celestial controllers. Earth, water, fire, air, and space. So some yogis perform the service of worship to celestial controllers. Constantly, we live with this awareness and not pollute them. That's a yajna. While others offer sacrifice of selfless service to the fire of the eternal being. Some other offer hearing and other senses as sacrifice in the fire of restraint. So that means that we have the senses we have. I want to restrain them. I don't want to hear anything bad. Undivine. I don't want to eat anything undivine. I don't want to say anything undivine. So controlling my senses. Others offer sound and other objects of the senses in the fire of senses. So it could be the objects also. It's like an incoming and at the same time outgoing. Others offer all the functions of the senses and the functions of the 5 bio impulses, the life forces of self-restraint that is kindled by self-knowledge. Others offer their wealth. So this is like a charity which we give. We have earned money and we want to just donate. Their austerity, their practice of yoga as a sacrifice, while the ascetics with strict vows offer their study of scriptures and knowledge as sacrifice. So they say, whatever I have learned, I want to share. That is a Gyan yajna. So there are 12 different kinds of yajnas he has mentioned in these verses. Those who engage in yogic practices reach the breathless state of trance by offering inhalation into exhalation and exhalation into inhalation as a sacrifice by using short breathing kriya techniques. So that's like a breathing itself. When we were born, we started breathing and we'll keep on breathing until we die. So every inhalation, every exhalation, remembering God and saying that God, because of you, I can breathe and I don't want to forget your name. So that's why the saints, they say, God's name should not be forgotten even in one single breath. So in every breath, remembering the name of God. Others restrict their diet. Like people do the fasting. But fasting so that we can remember God instead of spending time in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, just remembering God. That kind of a fasting. And not only the diet means the food diet, because sometimes we think that we are fasting, but we're going to watch TV all day long. We are not fasting. We are absorbing a lot through the eyes. So we got to watch for that also. From all the senses fasting. So others restrict their diet and offer their inhalations as sacrifice into their exhalations. All these people are the knowers of sacrifice and their minds become purified by the sacrifice. So the goal of a sacrifice of the yajna, see when we, in English, when we translate yajna into sacrifice, it loses its true implication. Okay, so it's a yajna. Yajna means action we are doing, remembering God. And why do we want to remember God? So that there's a more and more purification in our mind. So our job is to, this equipment of ours, which is called mind, we want to purify. Pure. Okay, so that is the idea. Those who perform selfless service obtain the nectar of self-knowledge as a result of their sacrifice and attain the Supreme Being, O Arjun. If even this world is not a peaceful place for the non-sacrificer, how can the other world be? So peace. Sometimes we think we need happiness. But actually, why do we want happiness? Because we want to be peaceful. Ultimate is peace. So he says, for a non-sacrificer, this world is not peaceful. How can the future will be? Like today they are not, how can they be tomorrow? Okay. Many types of spiritual disciplines are described in the Vedas. Know that all of them are the action of body, mind, and senses prompted by the forces of nature. Understanding this, one shall attain nirvana or salvation. The acquisitions and propagation of self-knowledge are superior to any material gain or gift, O Arjun, because all actions in their entirety culminate in self-knowledge. So ultimate goal is the self-knowledge, knowledge of yourself. So he says acquisition and propagation of self-knowledge are superior to any material gain, because so far we have been working day and night for material gain. I want to work hard because I want to have this kind of a car or that kind of a house or that kind of a bank balance. He says self-knowledge, knowing who you are, is the most important. There's nothing wrong in having things, but not at the cost of forgetting who you are or forgetting the purpose of coming into this beautiful body. Purpose is to know yourself. He says, oh Arjuna, because all actions in their entirety culminate in self-knowledge. So goal is the self-knowledge. Acquire this transcendental knowledge from a self-realized master by humble reverence, by sincere inquiry, and by service. Because he is saying that self-knowledge is so important and so hidden, so subtle. How do we really gain it? He says, go to a guru. So in this verse, he is giving us the qualification of a guru and a qualification of a student. In the first line, it is a qualification of a student. Acquire this transcendental knowledge from a self-realized master by humble reverence. So we have to have a respect for our teacher. By sincere inquiry, we want to ask questions. We got to inquire. And by service, Seva. And the second line, qualification of a teacher. The empowered ones who have realized the truth will give you this knowledge. So that means a person should have something so that person can give it to you. And a person is realized also. See, empowered one and realized the truth also. Okay, so these are the two qualities of a teacher. After knowing the transcendental service, O Arjun, you shall not again become deluded like this. If we just have a half a knowledge, then definitely we get deluded. But he says, after knowing this transcendental knowledge means you transcended your mind and intellect and body. It's like a higher level of knowledge. You shall not again become deluded like this. With this knowledge, you shall see the entire creation within your own higher self and thus within me. So that means you will see yourself who you are, and then you will see me also. A person who says, no, I have God in me, I am better than you, you don't have a God in you, that means that person has not seen it. The real knower is who knows that God is everywhere, equally present, all the time. Even if one is the most sinful of all sinners. So that means a person has done, a lot of times we think we have done so many bad things. Is there a hope for us? So Lord Krishna says, even if one is the most sinful of all sinners, one shall cross over the river of sin by the raft of self-knowledge. So he's glorifying this kind of a knowledge. Doesn't matter what the past was. If you have decided, made a determination, then you will attain this. The fire of self-knowledge reduces all bonds of karma to ashes. O Arjun, like the blazing fire reduces wood to ashes. See, there are karmas. This is a karmic theory, is a pretty vast, hard to understand, because it's not just a one lifetime we have lived, just like he said earlier, that you were before and I was before too. So when we were before in some other form, we did karmas then too. And they did not get evaporated. The effect of those karmas, we are carrying forward. Some of them are good, some of them not so good. So he says, whatever you are carrying with you, all those karmas, with the help of this self-knowledge, this light of self-knowledge is so great, all the karmas get extinguished. It's almost like if in the fireplace we have a big fire, no matter what kind of a wood we put in there, sometimes it could be a little wet wood in there too, but it will dry up and burn and come into ashes. Those of you who know the names of these karmas, there are Sanchit karmas, there are Prarabdha karmas, there's a Kriyaman karmas. The karmas which we are doing right now, if we do them as a Karma Yogi, we are not leaving any impressions. And the karmas, like a storehouse of the karmas, from the storehouse of the karmas, from countless lifetimes, we have brought some with us. And according to those karmas, we have gotten a body. We were born in a certain family. And predominantly it was either a happy or not so happy life. That is like called a prarabdha karma. Then the rest of the storehouse is still there for future. But over here he is promising us that this self-knowledge has the power to extinguish all of them, whether it's a storehouse of the karmas or whether it's a part which you have brought or the new one which you are doing. Because new one you are doing it with a proper knowledge. What you have brought in with you, you are getting the fruit of it, but you are still calm about it. You're not attached to it. And then the rest of it also you can extinguish. So very powerful assurance Lord Krishna is giving in this verse. But the practice we have to do, and the part of the practice was which he taught us in the last chapter, become a Karma Yogi. Keep on doing your duties. If you say, no, I don't want to do my duty, then it's not going to work. Do your duties the right way. So the fire of self-knowledge reduces all bonds of karma to ashes, O Arjun, like the blazing fire reduces wood to ashes. Truly, there is no purifier in this world like the true knowledge of the Supreme Being. Supreme Being is what? God. One discovers this knowledge within, naturally, in course of time. When one's mind is cleansed of selfishness by Karma Yoga. So in other words, it all depends on how much selfishness we have. Or what is the thickness of our karmas also. But he says, naturally in course of time. Course of time. So we got to have faith in this philosophy. We got to live a life based upon this truth and then see what's happening. Okay, let me read this again. Truly, there is no purifier in this world like the true knowledge of the Supreme Being. Okay, knowledge. And this knowledge is not just a theoretical knowledge. It starts with the theory, like we are reading it. Then after that, we try to understand it a little. Then we try to practice this in our life. That will be a true knowledge. One discovers this knowledge within. It's all inside here. Right now, it's just going from the books or the words inside. And then slowly we'll know that we knew it all. And I'm sure right now also, most of these words, you say, gosh, I have heard this before. Or I know this. But only thing is, we got to remember this at the time of our actions. If our actions don't change, or the motive behind the action doesn't change, then there's no knowledge. So in course of time, when one's mind is cleansed of selfishness by Karma Yoga, one who has faith in God, is a sincere in yogic practice, and has control over the mind and senses, gains this transcendental knowledge. Having gained this knowledge, one quickly attains supreme peace or liberation. And liberation is not just after this life. Liberation is living in this body, in this world, peacefully. That is a liberation too. Okay? So sometimes we think, no, who cares for the liberation? No, we want to be liberated because otherwise it's a burden. What is the opposite of liberation? Burden. A burdened life. And nobody likes that. So one who has faith in God. So number one thing, faith in God. Number two, sincere in the practice. So we got to practice this Karma Yoga. And has control over the mind and the senses. That's a number three. Then the knowledge will be gained. And after gaining this kind of a knowledge, supreme peace will come. Okay. So in this small verse, exactly what to do. And after doing it, what do we gain? Supreme peace, not just a little bit peace. Supreme peace. But if you don't have faith, what happens? The irrational, the faithless, and the disbeliever perish. There is neither this world, nor the world beyond, nor happiness for a disbeliever. It's like a doubting Tom. If you don't have a faith, even in our doctor, no matter what kind of a treatment we get, we won't see the proper result. Or even in our hairstylist, or a person who cooks for us. There's no faith, there's a doubt, it's not going to work. Last verse of this, no, two more verses of this chapter. Work does not bind a self-conscious person who has renounced work by renouncing the fruits of work through Karma Yoga, and whose confusion with regard to body and spirit is completely destroyed by self-knowledge. So in other words, this work, no matter how much action we do, it will not burden us. See, work does not bind a self-conscious person. So you can be very busy, but you are working as a Karma Yogi. You are seeing God in everybody. Then there's no binding. Binding with the action is only when we are looking for the fruit of the action, and when we don't understand the whole thing, that who is doing the action? Who are we? See, like physical body is working, soul is not working. Soul never works. That is the nature of the self. It does not work. So if we identify ourselves with the soul, we'll never get tired. That's why yogis, they keep on working. They keep on and working. Why? Not because of their selfish interest that I want to do it for myself. They do it for others. That is one of the criteria in a yogi's life. Helping others, doing for others, for the society. And why? Because they see God in the society, God in other people. So that's why this verse, work does not bind a self-conscious person. And if you have a book, this self is with a capital S. Whenever they write self with a capital S, that means the soul. When it's with a small letter S, that is like an ego, or could be a body, could be a mind. It's like a lower case self and a higher case self. Okay? By renouncing the fruits of the work. That's a qualification of a yogi, renouncing. That doesn't mean that you won't have it, but you are not doing the action for the fruits. Through Karma Yoga, and whose confusion with regard to the body and the spirit. See, these are two separate things. Body is just a casing for the spirit. Bodies we have gotten many before. Body, even in this lifetime, there was a body of a baby when we were born, then body of a teenager, then a body of an adult, then a body of a little older, then becomes a body like this, an old lady. Then after that, it will be another stage. It just keeps on changing. That's just a body. But what did not change throughout this journey? The soul. It's the same. That I was the same even in the baby's body and even in this body. And this I, the soul, stays same in the next birth also. It could be a different kind of a body. Doesn't matter. And who decides what kind of a body we get? Our karmas do. Even in this lifetime, bodies keep on changing. Calmer the mind, more selfless the mind, the healthier the body. We see that. The connection between the body and the mind. But we are not the body. Body is just a casing. That's why it's also called a temple. Temple. That's why we need to take care of it, because it's a temple where the soul resides. Just like outer temples, when we go to, in a building, beautiful building, there is a deity. Over here, the deity is us. So that's why he said, with regard to body and spirit. And then the last verse he says, therefore. Therefore means by knowing all this, therefore cut the ignorance born confusion. So that means the confusion which is born because of the ignorance with regard to the body and the spirit, by the sword of the self-knowledge, resort to Karma Yogi and get up for the war, O Arjuna. So he's reminding him again at the end of this chapter also what your duty is. This duty right now is to wage this war. But I'm telling you how to wage this war. Do not get attached to the fruit. Do it selflessly. Do it skillfully. Do it lovingly. Do your duty by seeing the God in you and in everybody else. Okay, so next chapter, which we read next week, it's called a Karma Sanyas. Karma Sanyas. This is a step up from this chapter. First, it started out with the Karma Yoga, then Gyan Karma Sanyas Yoga, then Karma Sanyas Yoga. This is like a higher and higher stages. And then after that, the chapter 6, he'll tell us how to practice all this too further. He just goes back and forth again and again. He keeps on telling us. So whichever way it makes sense to us. But if you read Gita like this, by understanding the main theme in each chapter, it becomes more clear. Okay. So now let's have questions from you guys or any kind of a comment. We have 5 minutes.
Namaste.
Namaste. Who has a question?
I do.
Yes, Kim. Yes, Kim.
Thank you. It was a great chapter. I have so much difficulty with the faith part. In verse 7, he says he comes whenever there's a decline of dharma to protect the good, establish world order.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look around, I see so much injustice and so much suffering of innocent people, and I feel so abandoned by God, and it's very hard to have a consistent faith that doesn't weaken when you see the world as it is. So can you speak about that?
Yeah. See, there's a lot of goodness happening too, actually. Sure, there's a lot of calamity, but there's a goodness too. And all of this happens, whatever we see, we are looking at the result of our own actions. And sometimes we have to go through that fruit to really understand it. And for God normally does not interfere. He does not say that I'm going to come over here and just take over. He lets us handle our own actions also. Okay, so this time lag, what we see that somebody did something wrong and still they are flourishing, and some people are so good and they are still hurting. Why is it happening? Because we really don't know the whole picture of their life. But at the same time, we got to look at it. Just if you narrow it down to our own life, draw the faith from those incidents where we really got help. Right? Yeah. I'm sure you can focus on a lot of things in your life which happened with His grace. Instead of just looking at in the outer field, we really don't know. We don't know the whole story of those people who are hurting. We really don't. We are not gods. Our intellect is very limited. We got to focus on ourselves. How much we have gotten. Just to have a beautiful human body, healthy body, a chance to study, chance to meditate, a chance to help. It's His grace. Focus on that more. Whatever we focus on, that grows. If we keep on focusing that why things are not working, why there's a calamity out there, then that will grow in our own mind actually. It grows in our own mind. So we got to just look at the grace, the good which we have gotten. There's always more good in any society or any body or any family. We got to focus on that. Even right now, in the middle of this virus, there are a lot of good things happening too. There are a lot of people, they are going out of their way to helping people. All the families, we have gotten time to spend time with our own children, with our own spouses, with our own bodies. At the ashram, we can teach every single day. To me, I think this is something really good has come out of it. So focus on the good. Okay? So do not take your mind into why such a disaster. No. Because there are reasons why that is happening too. And right now we don't want to focus on that. Otherwise our faith goes down. Faith increases when we are grateful. When we show the gratitude. See, no matter how sick the body is, there's always more parts in the body which are working. Be thankful, God. Maybe I have a toothache, but only in one tooth, not in all 32 teeth. Right?
Yeah.
But we just focus only on the negative. So this is one of the things we got to learn from Bhagavad Gita. Focus on the positive, positive grows. And God is ultimately, this is His universe, His creation. We are only a speck in it. Very important speck, but speck. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, again ask, don't worry. I mean, you don't have to be satisfied just with this much. More you study, more you meditate, more you pray, more questions will come and we'll discuss more. Okay?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh.
Yes, Jonathan.
It was a little question, but just in the first verse, I believe, Krishna said that it was a supreme secret, what he was going to tell Arjuna.
Yeah.
But,
supreme secret means it is so profound. Supreme secret doesn't mean he wants to keep it to himself or between him and Arjuna. Okay. Secret means it is profound. Average person doesn't understand. Mm-hmm. You got to dig a little deeper into it. You got to think about it. It's almost like it's a secret that we are soul. Even though it's not a secret, but it's a secret that most of the people don't even pay any attention to it. So in that sense, a secret.
Okay.
Secret doesn't mean don't tell anybody. No. Okay. Secret means profound. Yeah. Very subtle. Okay? Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, Manju.
No, I just want to say Kim's question was beautiful. It really was.
Yes.
So
yes.
Thank you for asking that, Kim.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these questions, they just make other people think also. It makes me think also. Mm-hmm. So, like your questions, like everybody's questions, do ask questions.
Yeah.
The same questions can be asked again and maybe you'll get a different answer. Right? I mean, you got to practice on this and then understand it at a higher level. Okay?
Hersh,
yes.
Can you explain a little bit more about action, inaction, and inaction part?
Yeah. See, what is really active in our body? We got to see when I am working something with my body. At that time, if my mind is calm, knowing the difference between the body and the mind, body is active. If mind is not really churning towards the fruit of the action, it's inactive. It's like a calmer the mind, and the body needs to be physically active, knowing the difference between these two. So it could be mind, or it could be like I'm doing the dishes. My hands are doing the dishes. Do I really need to keep on thinking about the dishes at that time?
Yeah.
Hands are doing it. Or when we are doing asanas, what is mind doing? So there's an inactive part in our personality. Okay.
Right.
And the active part, knowing the difference. And ultimately, to the highest level is the soul, which is always inactive, not doing any action. But if a person doesn't know anything about the soul right now, think about the mind. I'm going to keep my mind calm, keep my body active. But then there's a time comes, body is inactive, sitting in meditation. And the mind is active at that time, especially the deeper part of the mind. I'm trying to cleanse the mind. That's why I always tell you, meditation is a deeper vacuum cleaning of our mind. We are throwing away all the desires. We are throwing away all the vasanas. We are throwing away all the impressions. Okay. So any given time,
Thank you.
part of us is active, part is inactive. What needs to be active? What needs to be inactive? A yogi knows. Okay. That's why he said, that's a yogi. And that's a wise person. Otherwise, what happens? At night we are sleeping. We should give a rest to our body and we should give a rest to our mind. But most of the people these days, when they get up in the morning, oh, I'm so tired. Why are you tired? You slept for 7 hours and you are tired. What is tired? Mind. Because you did not know the technique to sleep. Your mind is tired. But at night, 7, 8 hours of sleep, body should be rested, mind should be rested. Yogi, that's why yogi doesn't need that many hours of sleep either. Skillfully can achieve that in a shorter period of time. My own Guruji slept only for 2 hours. I remember I have told you this story. I used to go visit him every year for few weeks. And I will watch him. He was the last one to sleep. And I don't know what time he slept. Because I could be awake at 12 o'clock. He's still awake. The light was on in his room. And then in the morning, no matter how early I got up, he was always up before me. So one time I just could not resist. I had to ask him. I said, what time, how much you sleep? How much time you sleep? His answer was just a very plain answer. Sometimes between 2 and 4. So he needed only that much sleep. Because he was expert in resting his mind. If you don't even disturb your mind, then it's rested. The body is the same way. And it's not that he did not work. He worked. Hundreds of people will come at the ashram. He'll serve them. He'll take care of them. But always alert, always active, always peaceful, always calm. That's a yogi's life. So this verse teaches us, keep attention. What is when I need to work in the body and when I need to work on the mind. These are the equipment given to me, to the soul. And soul never acts. Soul is just like electricity in a wire. Electricity in a fridge, electricity in a heater. That's a soul, just a source of energy. That's all. Doesn't do anything. It only energizes it. That's it. Just keeps on flowing. So that's why the same energy comes into the heater, gives the heat. Same energy, electricity goes into the cooler, it gives the coolness. Doesn't do anything. Just only flows. That's what soul is. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Jyoti?
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes, Prem.
Could you kindly, the three karmas you talked about, Sanchit Karam and two other, could you?
Yes, there is a karma. Every action which we do, that's called a karma.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And actions which we do right now, that's called a kriyaman karam.
Yeah.
The current action, kriyaman. The actions when we do, they go into the storehouse.
Okay.
Those are called sanchit karam.
Sanchit.
Then from the storehouse, we have brought some karams with us. That's called a prarabdha karam. So karam word is used for the fruit of the action. Karam word is used for the action itself. That's why it gets very confusing. When we are saying sanchit karam, that is a fruit of the actions. Fruit of those actions have been gone into the pile. It's almost like, let me give you the example of a silo. In a silo, you have seeds. You take out some of the seeds and plant them.
Mm-hmm.
They could be like a corn seeds. You have planted the corn field. So when you are planting them, those seeds, they are like kriyaman karam, current karam. When the fruit comes, the new corn comes, part of that you are using, part you are storing in the silo again. From the silo, you pick up again next year, put some more. So this is how this cycle keeps on going.
So it's ongoing.
Ongoing, but he is saying you can burn it all. How do we burn it all? By becoming a Karma Yogi. He says with this Gyan, with this knowledge, you can extinguish all your karmas. I say, no, I want to give it away to somebody. Total detachment. You have earned it. They are not mine. Whatever was in there, total detachment. That's why Vairagya is needed. Vairagya means detachment. It's not mine. Not only with words saying not mine, total understanding that it's not mine. It's for the universe, it's for the others. I give away.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's how one way we define Sanchit Karam, the storehouse, Prarabdha. See, when we are born in this particular form,
Yes.
where we were born, the parents we were born to, whether we were born in a king's house or in a pauper's house, whether we were born as a male or a female, whether with a beautiful healthy body or not so healthy body, that's all because of our past. What kind of a karmas? They're called prarabdha karam. Prarabdha was taken out from the storehouse. Okay? So that's why we cannot change our parents. Certain things are not changeable. I normally give you this funny example. I say that height cannot be changed. Width can. We have some control over there, but we don't have any control in the height.
That's good.
Give me a laughing. Right? Isn't it? Some things we cannot change. Something which we cannot change is prarabdha. But how to deal with the prarabdha?
Becomes the current.
Like if we have a short height and we want to get taller, we're healed, right? That's like adjusting with that. Okay? So Kriyaman Karam is the current Karam. Sanchit Karam is the storehouse of the Karam. And Prarabdha Karam is what we were born with. The scriptures, they talk about the life and death. When we were born, where we were born, how we will die, this physical death I'm talking about, when, where, how we'll die, it's all written according to our past karmas. So that's why there's nothing to worry about. A lot of time we just worry uselessly about the end. That is the one of the biggest fear in human beings. That is a faith that God, you are with me. I'm going to keep you in my mind during living also and at the end of this life also. Please stay with me. Stay with me. That's all. Because that's what in the second chapter Lord Krishna said, anybody who's born will definitely die. That is certain. That's why, what do we say? As certain as death. Don't we use that term? It is certain. But how are we going to live? How are we going to die? That is up to us. This is the faith we need to cultivate. Okay? Anybody else? Understood it all?
Everyone is good.
Good. No, it's nice to have you. Nice to have your questions. Do ask. As somebody was asking me after this lockdown, what will happen to Gita? I said, this Gita will continue. We're going to go over and over and over again. Because my Guruji used to say, we are supposed to study this Bhagavad Gita. You know how many times?
144 times.
Right, 144 times the whole Bhagavad Gita minimum. That's like a 12 yajna. Each yajna is done 12 times. So 12 times we read, and 12 times 12 is 144. So that means we're going to continue this class. How about that?
Hersh,
Anji?
I need to order the Gita. आप कर सकते हो ना?
Oh, you want Gita?